Today I'm showing your child how to hand sew a stuffed and embroidered name tag for her school backpack. You'll need 2 squares of thin craft felt, a long strip of felt, a smallish embroidery hoop, a little bit of polyfill stuffing, embroidery thread and needle, fabric scissors, and a friction pen which has ink that disappears with heat. Use masking tape to secure the top layer of felt to a table. Then have your child write his or her name with the friction pen right in the center of the piece of felt. Unscrew the embroidery hoop and put the center part on the table. Center the piece of felt with a name on it over the central part of the hoop. Push the outside part of the embroidery hoop over the fabric and tighten it. See my video for threading your needle and you'll be ready to go. When you embroider, you're not going to start from the very edge of the writing, but a little bit in because you're going to have to go back to get to there. So put your needle in from the back of the fabric, pull it out about here. It depends on what type of letter you're doing. If you're doing a curve, you're going to do it a little bit closer. Then move back here to the end of the letter. And there's your first part. Again, you're going to move forward like this and go in the hole from before. To make it straighter, I suggest, hold on, going like this. Let's pull this out a minute and I'll show you how to make it straighter. Okay, hold it like this. Put the needle in like this into where this hole is and pull it out and push it out here. Use your finger on the back to push the needle up through the front. And this will help make your line a little bit straighter. When we get to an end like this, the end where we have to turn, put the needle through here, and again in the hole from before, and put the needle in here. Okay, see? And we're going to turn your whole embroidery hoop. Then we go through the hole up at the top. It doesn't have to perfectly fit the letter the way that it is because the writing is going to be removed afterwards. So here we go. Let's continue. And continue this way for all of the letters. When you finish a letter, you can either bring the needle underneath the fabric to the next letter. Again, we're going to come out here so we can work back, or you can tie a knot in the back of the letter and then just tie a new knot in your thread and start the next letter. So I'm going to go over from the back to start my I. And again, we're going to start here, not right at the very end. That way we can do the back stitch. Okay, and we're going to go right from back here and work our way down the I. I finished embroidering my I, so I'm going to flip over, show you how to tie a knot. I stick my needle underneath one of the stitches here at the end. I pull it through once completely and then I go through again. Leave a little loop here. Okay, there's the loop. We're going to go through the loop with the needle. Oops, caught the fabric here. And pull. Put your thumb here just to kind of hold the fabric. Pinch it between your thumb and your finger behind and give it a little tug. Then you just cut the thread off and you can start over in a new place. Straight letters are a lot easier to do than curved letters. When you do a curved letter, you need to use smaller stitches so that you can work through the curves. I'll show you how to do this S here. So as always, poke your needle through, not quite at the end of the letter. That way you can work back. There we go. Okay, now here it's a little bit harder for me to push under because I am near the edge of the hoop here, but also when you're doing curves you might not be able to do that trick that I showed you before to push the needle through the back through the front with your finger from behind because you're not going in a straight line. So use little stitches here and just work your way down the letter. So you can see here I'm doing much smaller, oops, move that so you can see better. You can see I'm doing much smaller stitches here. Okay, and I'm going bit by bit so that I can get that curve properly. Okay, now you can see what works best for your letter. The tighter the curve, the smaller your stitches are going to have to be, otherwise the letter won't look curved. There we go. Here it's a little bit straighter, so I'm going to go a little bit longer. Okay, you can see I'm making a nice curve here. So when you're doing a curved letter, you want to use smaller stitches to make that curve. Because this project is for Sew a Softie, it's supposed to be for kids to sew. So here's my daughter Sophia finishing the embroidery which I started. When you're done with your embroidery, unscrew the embroidery hoop to remove the fabric. Then iron your fabric on the front and on the back with a protective cloth so that you don't ruin your embroidery. This will not only flatten out your piece, but it'll also remove any of the ink from the friction pen. Once you've ironed your fabric, put it on top of your backing fabric and mark out the shape that you want your tag to be. I'm going to do a rectangle, so I'm using a ruler with a chalk roller here. You can also do a circle, you can trace around a cup or something like that. You can also use your friction marker, a pen if you want. Put in a couple of pins just to hold the two layers together. And cut out the fabric. There you go. Now let's add the hanging tag. I have a strip here of felt. I made it extra long just in case. I think this is about right, so we'll put it like that. Let's trim off the ends. And let's pin it in place. We'll open this up and just put this right inside here. Now that the strap is pinned in place, let's start sewing. We're going to sew with a whip stitch all around. Let's start from the very end here. Let's take our needle with the embroidery thread. We'll stick it in here between the two layers so we can hide the knot. We'll start towards the end here, near the corner, and just start sewing all around with the whip stitch. So this is what my daughter Sophia did. She noticed that her stitches are nice and close together. This is important so that the stuffing won't fall out. Now she came right up to where this little strap is. And what you need to do is you need to continue doing a whip stitch, even if there isn't an edge right there. How do you do it? You have to go through this fabric here of the strap. It's a little bit more annoying, but it's totally doable. So you go right through and you act like you're doing a whip stitch, but you have to go through this strap fabric. You come out through the back and go right back through. It's a little bit harder to do it regularly to get nice regular stitches, but it's still totally doable. Through the strap. Alright, went off the camera there. Through the back. And like that. Once you're done doing that, you continue doing the whip stitch all the way around until you get right past this corner here. Okay, Sophia now has continued sewing all the way around, and you can see there is this little opening here. This is where we're going to stuff our little tag. So you're going to take your stuffing and put in little bits at a time. Don't try and shove a whole bunch all at once. Just do a little bit at a time. You can use your finger, just a little bit. It's fun to be able to stick it in with your finger. Push it all the way down to the end. If you want some help, you can use a pen. Here's our friction pen. You can stuff it right down into the bottom like that. Keep filling it up with the stuffing until it's right up to the edge. When you're done stuffing, pull the thread to tighten up your stitches from before, pinch it shut here with your fingers, or you can use pins or clips, however you want, and continue doing your whip stitch to close this opening. When you get to the end, you can just overlap a little bit these stitches, these very first stitches if you want, just to make it extra tight. Tie a knot. You can go to the back if you want, so it's less noticeable. Pass the needle underneath the thread. You can see there's a little loop here. Put the needle through the loop and pull. There we go. You can either trim off the thread right there, or you can go right through, come out somewhere else, and trim off the thread. And there we have it. This is really nice because not only is it a squishy tag, it's also kind of like a nice stress, a stress reliever. So if your child is getting nervous or jittery at school, he can just take his little name tag and squeeze it and squeeze it and squeeze it. Now let's put it on the bag. Just put it like this, squish it through that loop, give it a little tug, and it is all set. Get more kids sewing projects at kuchikuchiku.com and subscribe to my YouTube channel.